Welcome everybody to the Awakened Being YouTube channel. And this is the Awakening Discussions panel. And today we are talking about mindfulness practices. I'm here with Jessica Armstrong, Minaj. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, Minaj, but
Manoj.
Welcome everybody to the Awakened Being YouTube channel. And this is welcome. There we go.
Okay.
I always forget to do that. And finally, we're Daniel Jackson joining us today to talk about mindfulness practices. So we all know how powerful mindfulness is at this point. I think it's been a pretty openly discussed topic. And there are hundreds of different mindfulness practices that we could talk about.
Yes.
So where do we want to start? Let's start with you, Jessica.
Well, when I think of mindfulness practices, it comes a lot into what we are telling ourselves, the communication that we're having with ourselves. And it's really that self-awareness, the self-acceptance, and that self-love. So when we're finding ourselves in this negative narrative or putting ourselves down, practicing those self-awareness and acceptance and self-love gives you that opportunity to start bridging that gap between the negative responses and start being organically able to feel that positiveness from yourself and knowing that you're going to be there supporting what you're doing and all of your choices and have your own back, basically. So practicing that is what makes me think of being mindfulness.
Awesome.
Exactly. I agree with you, Jessica, on that part, because for me also, mindfulness starts with being aware, right? Being aware of myself and the environment around me. And what it provokes in me, right? Whether I am at ease or whether I am not at ease with the environment that I'm living in or the work I'm doing. So for me, mindfulness is on everything. That if I write, I love to write. So when I write, it should feel in the heart, right? And that gives me that immense happiness. So if I should be mindful of it, what I am doing. And when I eat food, I'm mindful of what I'm eating. And even while I'm talking to someone, I'm mindful of what the other person is saying and what I am saying. So that also comes with listening, right? Being self-aware, observing what is happening around and listening. At times, it is not listening by ears, right? But what you feel, listening to what you feel with the environment, being integrated with the environment. And I can give you an example from my personal life because I have a rare condition that's hemophilia, that's a bleeding disorder. And while I was growing up as a child, we were not much aware what this condition is and what would happen to us, right? So I always had problems with me, bleeding happening every now and then, and some near death experiences also. So during that time also, I had to take some decisions. I was in 10th board. We have 10th and 12th board in our school. So 10th board is a big landmark. In mid of the board exams, I had left joint bleed and I was like in immense pain. I couldn't sit. I couldn't even lie down. So I was in immense pain. And last two exams were remaining. And my father was to retire in 7 years time period, keeping that timeline in track. So I was aware that this is the only time I have left that while my father is in job, I would be able to finish my education till my post-graduation. And I was told to leave the board exams, and still what I did was I asked my father to bring wheelchair, popped in some painkillers, and went and gave my final two exams and got good numbers because year round I was studying. So I was mindful what is going to happen to me and my family and my younger siblings who are coming along. If this opportunity is missed, uh, I may not be able to complete education, because people like me whom I had met had similar type of situation and they were not able to finish their education. So these were some of the experiences, because after that even I had some uh, uh, near death experiences, and thank God that I chose that way. And then after that, before my father retired, I was able to complete my post graduation the same year. So these were some of the things, and let's have other panelists also put in their views, and then I'll share some more of my experiences with my mindfulness. Yeah. Yeah, that is, we are waiting.
Oh, okay. uh, Mindfulness to me is taking the time to be aware, and that's the hardest part. It's for a lot of people, because it's the true definition of it is more of it's a meditation time, clearing yourself and clearing your mind, and being able to look at things in a clear way. But I think that's a hard thing for a lot of people. There's too many distractions in this world. There are too many things going on in this world that they don't even want to pay attention to what's going on around them, because they're just choosing to be distracted instead. So I think trying to get that in line is the biggest challenge for all of us, especially because people do come to people like ourselves who are trying to get themselves together. And I always tell people the first thing they should learn to do is meditation. That'll clear up a lot of things in their lives, but they have to take the time to do that, and that's not always easy for everyone to do. To be not just mindful of yourself, but mindful of those around you. So I always try to tell people, let's slow down one thing at a time. I always tell people, don't just put too many things on your plate, because when you do that, you're eventually just not doing anything at all, because you just become overwhelmed. so my idea of trying to get mindfulness out to others is more of concern. I could do this on my own, whatever I want to, because I have learned to do that. But I focus more on trying to teach other people to do it for themselves, and it's a pretty difficult task. But we can only do so much. I have found some people that I try to help, and they just want to fight against you every moment, and that's a hard thing to do as well. But I keep chugging away. I keep trying to push it, and try to hopefully open up their minds enough to look at themselves first before they, because I know a lot of people who are always trying to help other people all the time, but don't even take the time to help themselves first. And you can't be the help that you want to be without you being clear yourself. So, but it is a difficult task, but we got to keep chugging along. We got to keep trying, because obviously, I mean, if we look around ourselves, we look around out in the world, things aren't going very well right now, and but they could go well. But we have to make a choice to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, oh, sorry, Linda, go ahead.
That's okay. I was just going to say, mindfulness is in my interpretation of it, is just bringing your awareness to what you are doing right now, and being aware of the sensations, the feelings, what's happening around you in the now. And I feel as though there's this really big idea that mindfulness has to be done in this meditation practice where you're sitting quietly and you're experiencing no thoughts and feeling what's going on in your body. And that's not necessarily a that is a mindful practice, of course, but I don't want people to get bogged down with the idea that that's the only way to become mindful. And that, we can be mindful when we're sitting and having a meal and just enjoying the taste of our senses and what we're hearing with our families, and feeling that love connection in that moment. That's a mindful practice right there. So just kind of trying to take out the stigma that mindfulness has to be this meditation, sitting quietly, and walking outside and being in nature can be a very beautiful mindfulness practice of like connecting to your environment and connecting to how that environment feels inside of you, and just becoming aware in the moment really is a mindful practice. Sorry, Jessica, what were you going to say?
Oh, and well, and that on that too is just being able to be present and be with yourself, and not feel pressured if you're not busy or you're not doing something, and being able to slow your mind down. And even getting to meditation is a practice, because you have to even be able to even just be with yourself when you are just dining with your family, or watching a movie, and not feeling guilty about taking that time for yourself, or feeling ashamed or feeling lazy, which is a term that I really don't love, because we all need to be able to enjoy those times. And another thing I was going to add is that some of it is about understanding what we can control and what we can't control, because there are so many things externally that are part of our day. And so reminding ourselves that, we have 4 things we can control: our focus, our imagination, our breath, and our response. Everything else is left up to other people, the universe, and really being able to find that openness to allow for those other people in the universe to take care of what they need to, can really lift a lot of that busyness that goes into our minds, and the stress that it can cause, that we carry around on our shoulders. And that's really an awareness thing. What is it that somebody else might be doing, or something that you really don't have control of, is triggering you or getting you upset, and not allowing you to be present and where you need to be for yourself and for everyone involved. So it's really it's being aware and accepting what you are able to control, and then being able to remember that when you feel triggers, like being aware of how you react to something, because these are a lot of times just things we've learned over time, how we react to things, or how we get emotional over things, and recognizing what kind of comes in, and then being able to say, hey, this isn't on me, or hey, this has been enough for today. It's okay that I'm relaxing, just trying to get that new way of thinking, and not judging yourself, because it's all human stuff, but being able to kind of have that other conversation, and it just gets easier the more you do, and it's a tool and a practice for sure.
Yeah, it definitely can, like, self-talk is a huge part of being mindful. And that's part of the mindfulness too, is recognizing when the self-talk isn't the kind of talk that's raising you up and
Right.
helping you to increase your frequency and increase, where you're at, and connecting to those, that higher thinking that, doesn't only lift you up, but it lifts other people up around you. And that's one part about mindfulness that's so powerful, is the energy that we're able to give off when we're in a mindful state. because we're not only mindful of ourselves, but we're mindful of how other people are feeling and what those experiences are and how we're interacting with that energy as well. And, our thoughts are so powerful in that energy field, and people can feel that, you
Mm.
know, and those deeper thoughts, and like, the subconscious ones, the ways that we feel about ourselves that we don't necessarily have those running through our mind at the moment, are so important too.
Exactly, exactly. I will also like to bring some perspective from being a rare condition person, right? So how being mindful has actually helped me to stay healthier, and at the same time, because see, I'm trying to always listen and be aware of what my body is saying, because when I was growing up, initially it was difficult to understand what my body is saying, and when I need to go to the hospital to take the treatment, and when to ask for help, right? Even this is one important thing. Being mindful also means that when you need help, go and ask for it, right? Bringing that barrier down, that I won't ask for help. Initially, while I was growing up, it was something like that. I would not ask for help, and I would struggle and make that journey. And yes, I would do it, I would complete the task, but that was something that, because I wanted to learn how the thing would happen, and probably I was afraid, or you can say it was a part of an ego, or anything you can term it that way. So being mindful is putting these negative things aside, and when you need a help, ask for help, right? And being a patient, I realized in due course of time, I started to observe my body, when what sensation my body is giving, because being a severe hemophilic, we suffer from spontaneous bleeds. So without any damage or any thing, we will suffer from a spontaneous bleed into our joints and all. So the sensation, our body tells beforehand, see, it is going to happen. The bleeding is going to happen. So when we are aware of it, we can immediately go to the hospital and get our factor infusion. So that way, what happens on time, treatment would happen, and I am able to do my daily work in a normal way. So for me, being mindful has helped me a lot uh, by staying healthy and being productive in my work front. So this is what it has helped me, being mindful of.
But it's also helped you to ask for help as well, because
Exactly.
yeah, the world, the society itself doesn't want us to know that we could actually help ourselves. But that because they want us to believe that we can only rely on them for help, but that's absolutely not the truth. But the only way you're going to be able to take care of yourself is by being proactive for yourself, and that's what people need to learn how to do. I mean, if we were not meant to help each other, then there wouldn't be 7.5 billion of us here. We're not, there would just only be one of us. So there's lots of help out there, but it's also teaching people to be aware of themselves enough to know that they can, if they can't figure out these problems themselves, they can always seek it out somewhere else. But I hear so many people, especially with what I do, is they always feel as though they're alone in this world, but no one is actually alone in this world. We're just too afraid to ask for that help, and we need to take away that fear that people have, that's been instilled in our lives, to ask for to help others. But because there are others who really do generally like to help as many people as we can, but we can't help them unless we understand or know that those people actually want our help. And not everybody does want our help. But then that's a unfortunate thing in this world. But hopefully we can bring them more on board, to be aware, to be more mindful of themselves, to know that they don't have to sit in this and have to do this alone. No one has to do it alone. They just choose to do it alone. But hopefully one day that will change as well. But it's again, like I say, it's not an easy road. It's not a long road, but Like I always tell people, if life were meant to be easy, then what would be the point of living? Because if you were given everything in your lifetimes, you wouldn't appreciate the things that you do have.
So true. And the idea too of like, not one person has it all. You
No.
can't know everything. It's impossible. The universe is too vast, too large for our little minds to be able to even comprehend a pinch of it. And
We're meant to learn.
and it's also that awareness of expansion and understanding that it's the collective central nervous system that when we're being aware, when we're tapping into that awareness, we're tapping into that collective nervous system. And those questions and those ideas and those things that we need those puzzle pieces filled, we can attract and allow them into our life so much faster and easier when we don't have those blocks happening in the channel. And then those answers just naturally come, or those voids that we have just naturally seem to fill themselves because we're able to allow and recognize that it needs to happen, right? That mindfulness is about recognition that there is something that you need to learn, or that there is something that you need to grow towards, or what are you passionate about? What do you want to, what field do you want to move in, or what do you want to, and just being able to tap into that collective
Learning
nervous.
to take down the walls.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
I always, I imagine a lot of where we originally came from, and naturally we were part of a village, and we all played our parts to our talents. And although we
I
were
came
a
from New
much,
Jersey.
although we were a much larger village now, a lot of what we try to teach in life coaching is for them to find those passions, find what really sparks them, and what their uniqueness is, and being able to really define that and love that and be aware of it, and be able to live their life with that in mind. Just being mindful of who you are in this unique space is so important, because we all individually have something to give, but we're not always aware of what that is. And you do often need help in discovering this. People who've gone through the motions, people who've learned the tools, those are the people who are going to be very helpful in this instance. And it is, part where you do have to have that kind of aha moment, that I'm going to fight for myself moment, where you're like, okay, it's time for me to ask for help. I think a lot of people feel that asking for help means something, like it means something negative. And I think there's a big portion of our population that often holds things in, and don't want to discuss what really needs to be discussed, or don't want to say, hey, I needed the help to get here. But where we are today, and the things that we have to often deal with in our day-to-day in society, it really creates a lot of walls. It creates a lot of delusions in who we are as people. And so it's more important now than ever to find somebody who does have the education, experience, and tools to help you find that for yourself. When I'm coaching somebody, it's about them finding it on their own. I'm just here to help guide them to it. And it's also providing hope and purpose, and this chance for opportunity to enjoy life and have that fulfillment regardless of what you're doing. I mean, you don't have to be somebody really powerful. You can be whoever it feels best for you. But I think a lot of people try to be something that they're not because they don't know how to be on that inner journey and really finding what's important to them. They just see what maybe other people are doing or what other people like, and they think that that's what they need to do. And that causes so much confusion. And the best way for all of us to work together and for us to feel the most fulfilled is finding out what we need, asking ourselves, what is it that I need for myself to be happy, to live my purpose, and to spread that energy around to the people I love and the people I see. So I think that's a big part of it, is just making that jump. And the awareness is really what is going to be first.
So,
Society itself is killing that. That's the hardest part.
What is
Social
that?
media, sitting on a phone all day, just staring at a phone and not
Yeah.
actually talking to anybody. We're allowing this to happen, and that's the biggest part. We let social media take over. We let. I just saw something on TV yesterday, not TV, but on a video about a guy who walked into a grocery store, and they have a new system in place where you take your debit card, you go over and tap it, and then you go get whatever you want, and then you walk out of the store. You have no interaction whatsoever with anyone else. They have cameras up in the ceiling, and every time you pull something off, it tracks it. And then you walk out with all your groceries. We're taking the socialness away with this what we call social media. You go to a big box store, and everything there is check out yourself. You check it out yourself. You don't even have anyone doing that anymore. No one to talk to. I mean, I don't know about you, but every time I go to one of those stores and there is a checkout person there, what do? They talk my ear off. And why do they talk my ear off? Because they have no one to talk to anymore, because the world is allowing this to go away. I mean, we're not being as social as they say we are, but they are the ones who are pushing it away from us. They're killing us. And that's the hardest part. And that's why people feel so alone in this world, because we're being forced to be feeling alone. That's the bigger issue. And I understand that this conversation is about mindfulness for yourself, but sometimes we're being so mindfulness with just ourselves. We're not paying attention that we're letting the world do this to us. When do we stand up and take that back?
Yeah,
We can't continue to go down this line where they take everything away from us. We don't even realize that we're letting them do it. When do we stand up and say, hey, you know what, we gotta put this to an end? That's where, I mean, we're here as a collective. Why don't we start working together as a collective, not just as individuals? Individually, we're not going to get it done.
I totally agree with you on that one, Daniel, because the isolation is so, we can be mindful in our own space, but it's being out, it's interacting with many different minds and many different collective types of people that
Yes.
makes us more aware of who we are and what we're here to learn and what we're here to bring to the collective as well. And, sometimes I've had the most profound experiences taking the bus and speaking to a stranger, and have these really huge aha moments about my life and myself in those moments when it's just an innocent conversation, and that needs to continue happening. And it's the social aspect of it is definitely taking that away from those experiences for sure.
Yeah,
And
I agree with that too. When I was younger, I lived near a beach town, and they used to run this bus late at nighttime for everybody who, when they would come out of the bars, they would have some way to get home instead of trying to take it into their own hands and having an accident problem. But my wife and I, who were not drinkers, we would just take those buses at night just to listen to the people, just to listen to the conversations and the jokes that were happening when people let their guards down. And we need to, it's one thing that was interesting, but I mean, it's unfortunate we had to do it at 2:00 in the morning, but we did it just to do that, because it was more or less, it was that interaction that we were looking for. It was almost free entertainment at that point, but the interaction to listen to people just be themselves. And that's I think that's what I miss the most about this world. And that was probably 10, 15 years ago. But nowadays you just don't seem to find that too much anymore because people aren't willing to take the walls down because again, we're separated from ourselves so much. We need to learn to stop segregating ourselves from ourselves. And that's the biggest problem we have going on. Mindfulness about myself is great, but if I'm not doing anything else to help anyone else because I'm too worried about just trying to create my own mindfulness, what's the point?
Well, and I kind of want to ask a question on this though. Like Linda, when you're talking with strangers and having these amazing moments, do you feel like it's because you're more open to it, because you've done some work and with yourself and you're more open to having that conversation or receiving those people in that moment?
Yeah, I definitely I feel as though, I've done years and years of internal work on my mind and my energy system. So I can relate to a lot of different types of people.
Mhm.
I can sit with anybody, I can respect them, understand their point of view, I can hear what they have to say, feel it, because there's lots of space to be able to feel that, what they're going through. And it's so much more, because when I was younger, it wasn't quite so clear as it is now, I feel.
Mhm.
And that's taken a lot of dedication to understanding who I am and a lot of mindfulness practice in my own environment, but also being out. Like I remember going to this huge event, and it was the Pollitt River Run. Okay, so every year everybody gets all together and we have this huge big bang party. And at that time I was really starting to like become aware of like social awkwardness because I was changing my habits. And, when you change your habits, it's harder to, fit into those environments sometimes. And I remember I packed up my tiger's eye with me, and I was in the moment and I felt awkward. I was having a hard time having conversation. And I just, rubbed my little stone and was like, what, I want to have an experience where I feel being heard and that I hear and I feel comfortable inside of myself. And boom, the environment changed and a whole different set of people are around me. And there it is. I'm having this conversation with these people that feel very comfortable and easy. And, and that was just a mindfulness of becoming aware in that moment of that
Right.
social interaction wasn't fitting, and just saying, I would rather experience this, and just boom, there it is,
Because they're just like you, because you're just like them. We're all human.
This is it, right?
I heard that like other people are what pulls you back into society. So even if you're just going to have coffee with somebody you haven't talked to in a while or whatever it may be, it doesn't have to be anything significant. It's just that practice of, going out and talking and connecting with somebody, because out of all the things that we need to feel happy, we do need connection, and other people are that pull, that thing that pulls us back in to the village, to the connection.
But if you're going to have coffee, you got to have a donut. Just saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So as everyone was discussing about a social thing, right? So there are a few steps I have taken being mindful, right? Because what environment makes me feel happy, right? The same environment may help others also feel happy and heal at the same time. Because for me, the process of healing is also continuous and is part of my mindful practices that I or the activities that I do in my day-to-day life. So what we did is, so I initiated into establishing a literary club in our region, because see, this is something where you meet and greet people, right? The connection of being face to face and talking to each other. And so when you are into this space, you are more comfortable. And that talk, it may be literary, but at the same time, it would also help heal you internally of any problems that you may be suffering, right? Or you may be having. So that also gives you some solution talking to people around, right? With the same interest. So the initiative is, in the world where we are totally detached because of this digital world and social media, the initiative is to meet at least once in a month with like-minded people, where we enjoy listening to each other, because we are into literary part, so we write poetries or even storytelling things. And there is no age barrier in it. So we have in that group people who are above 60, and people with my age group, and even some youngsters, right? So that way what happens, even we can help understand the generation gap. That also helps, because when we are able to understand the generation gap, it is much better communication within the family also, because within a family there is a generation gap. So how to interact with people into each age group is also automatically a part of it, because we are able to understand how each age group takes into that social media or anything around, and what is their interpretation of the same problem, right? So when there is a problem, what a person with the particular age group of around 50 or 60 would take it that way, or a person in mid 20s to mid 30s or 40s would take, and a teenager would, right? The generation Z, so-called generation Z, who are more fearless, and probably are I don't know where they are going, because very few are actually with the sound head and have vision in their mind what they are doing and channelizing their energy. Rest have been actually been guided to be without any aim in life. They've been told float like the log in the sea. So it's something that through this mindful connection, through this small club that we are forming, literary club, where we have set some rules, and we talk about it. First, we have to each, before each meeting, we give each other a theme, that, okay, this is the theme, you have to write on it. So that also helps continue, right? So this is how we are doing. I'm taking this mindfulness into the practical aspect, that if we crave for connection, let's take the initiative and make the connection, right? So this is how I try to do in my local area, and these are some of the steps I do.
That's beautiful.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I've been really focused on this in the last year as well. I created a retreat to bring people together, and in that healing environment, I also have discussions with a group of ladies every Sunday where we discuss all different types of topics, and just that connection is so powerful. And I know that those women, they really lean on that too in their lives, because they don't have those conversations and those connections in many places. And that's really, it is a big issue. It really is.
Exactly. So these are, I think, these are practical applications of being mindful, right? When we ourselves have taken the initiative, and yes, each one has a fear or a doubt, but when we just let those walls of fear and doubt break down, we break them down, we enter a beautiful connection, we create something that is worthwhile, even when we are not there, right? It becomes a part of the community, then it is for everyone to cherish and reap the benefits from for generations to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the only way our children will be able to know community
Yes.
is if they are living in
Exactly.
community. That's
Exactly.
so much
Exactly.
more organic instead of,
Yes.
if we go too many generations with social media, not social
Hmm.
media, but the internet, too
Oh,
many
you're correct.
generations of that isolation, they lose those skills and it becomes harder and harder to step into.
Yeah, especially
Exactly.
when the younger ones we stick a phone or a computer in front of their face and just let them have that because we don't want to deal with them anymore. But that's not the answer.
Hmm.
And I
Exactly.
think what you touched on there, Linda, was the availability of having things like this. So creating some kind of safe environment for people to come and be with their community. And even as far as getting help with learning mindfulness too, all of these things that we need for connection, health, mental and physical and emotional, all of these things that we need in our lives. It's important to have it available to people, and something that they can find easily and feel comfortable coming to. We have our neighboring county has something for women in business, and it is absolutely amazing. And I love going to those and being able to connect with them. And it's so great to be able to get collaboration or see how somebody did something that maybe I'm struggling with and vice versa. And that's so important. And I was asking women in who I know in business in my county if this was something that they would be interested in, and it was like, yes, like I feel like there are people craving connection, but they don't necessarily know how to go about it. So having something like you, Manoj, that saying that having that group is just so incredible. And the fact that you invite all ages and generations is really great. And it needs to be something that we see more often.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
and that hard. I think 2020 really killed a lot of it for us as well,
Yeah.
especially with the pandemic, because they said stay home, stay home. We don't want you to come out of the house, stay home, and that time, and now stay home and work from home and do everything from home and don't go to school. We want you to stay home and do school, and they within 1 year, 2 year period of time, we've lost so much of our sociability within this world, and there's again, but then they're pushing it away, pushing us towards staying away from each other, not towards being with each other. And we need to learn to get back to that. There are so many opportunities for us to get together, but now since that pandemic has happened, you walk around and you see people looking at each other, paying more attention to each other, but not in a sociable way. If
Mhm.
you even sneeze or cough, they just get a reaction like, "Oh no, I'm going to catch something from that person now," and and but this is the power and control that the society has put out on us. The people who do control us want us to be this way. They don't want us to be together. And that's why we are ourselves, people in this field are always at a constant struggle and letting people know. I mean, I tell people all the time, there's two rules in this world. As long as you follow the rules and you comprehend them, you'll appreciate your life when everyone else is around you. The rule number one is no matter what, people die every day. And rule number two is you can't change rule number one. I don't care what vaccine you take, you're gonna die. You just so let it go. You don't have to think about it so much, but people are so afraid of their own mortality these days because we've been pushed into that. We need to learn to get back to what we used to do. What we used to do was, kids used to go out and play together. They don't. I live in a huge neighborhood. There's over 1,000 homes here. I don't see any children ever. Where did that go? What happened? What what do we need to do to get that back? When I was a child, my friends and I got outside every day and played every day. I just don't hear that here. And I'm out and about in this neighborhood all the time because I like to take walks. I just see homes. That's all I see is homes. And you see people getting in cars and leaving. Never see children anywhere. We need to, and that's the basis of everything. Is not just being mindfulness of ourselves as adults, but getting our children to be mindful too. But we have to get our children back to being children. We have to get them back to, we can't just sit here and pressure our children into, you got to get into a good school. You got to be able to do this. You got to get on this football team. We don't. We push them into things that we really don't need. And that's the problem in this world. But the world
That
wants
goes
us to
back
think we do need it.
Yeah, that goes back to what Jessica was saying too about how we have lost our community, that sense of community and connection.
Yeah,
And
we need each other.
yeah, and therefore we've lost a lot that comes with that, and that's collective knowledge. So grandma, grandpa sharing information with the child that the parent doesn't know yet, or even there's so much unhealed wounding in so many different parts of our personal realities that we're just handing that wounding on if we're not healing it.
Yeah,
And
they're trying to get us to stay home now because they're having these winter warnings now. We don't want you to travel anywhere because it's too cold. Well, as far as I remember, in the wintertime, it's always cold. I mean, they're just trying to suppress us all the time. We can't let the world continue to do that, and that's the biggest part of the problem. We just let it happen.
so we all have basic needs, like if a baby is born and it's not held and loved, it will die, right? It loses its life. So we have these basic energetic connection needs. And social is one of those huge ones. Family is a big one. Spirituality is actually a very big one. And we are being forced to shut these needs down
Yes.
to meet the demands of what's being asked of us in this world, because we have to pay our bills, and we have to do, we have responsibilities, and unfortunately our children are the ones that pay the price, and generations to come are the ones to pay the price of that, because they won't know how to meet those needs. They won't understand how to do it. And socially is how we do it. That's how we keep learning how to go deeper into those needs and get those needs met. And so that we feel like whole beings with a lot to offer, like our cup can be full.
Yeah, they don't know things anymore. So children don't know how to fill out a job application. They don't know how to balance what we would consider a checkbook. We teach them the things that they don't really need to learn. When I was in 8th grade, I had to take German, and I kept saying to my teacher, "Why am I going to?" Well, in case you go to Germany. Well, I don't fly in airplanes, so I'm not going to go to Germany. I don't need to learn. If I want to learn it, I will. But same thing with history. Do you want to teach you all this history? If I need to learn history, if you teach me to read and write, I can read a book and read about it anytime I want to. But do I have to know the actual? I mean, Manoj, over here, they teach us you have to know the 50 states. You need to know every single one of the 50 states, and then you have to know all the capital cities as well. Why? If you
I
teach
think
me to read and write, I
also-
can look at a map.
I think we also need to realize that we have to have a foundation, and in order to build, I mean, you can't, if you don't have a strong foundation, the rest of it's not going to matter. And I think right now we're really not experiencing that strong foundation
Correct.
from society and from those who are kind of the ruling people. So that work really has to start within ourselves now. I mean, that's the big movement, is really doing that self-work, because we have to have a strong foundation ourselves before we can take care of anybody else. If our cup's not full, we have nothing else to give And connecting and being social, as important as that is, takes energy, it takes strength, it takes courage. And having and being able to do that takes time and energy in its own right. And if the parents who have children are working all the time or have their own mental disruptions, then that's of course going to get passed on. So we need to focus on getting the parents the healing themselves, so that energy and that healing connection can be what the children receive. And that's in any kind of social situation. I mean, we have to do the work within ourselves, become connected to ourselves and our spiritual self. And then we are able to expand that into society. And the more of that we have individually, collectively, we'll start seeing that change.
You said a great word, movement. That's a perfect word, because we are here to bring a message, but what we are really here to do is bring a message within a movement. And movement is just not one individual movement, it's all of us, getting us all on board.
Yeah. And no man left behind.
Yeah.
Or a woman.
Or a woman, that's right.
Just putting that out there, just saying.
Yeah, it's a common noun, right? Here it was a common noun. Okay. Yeah. So we have already started. I have started by building a local community at this group level. We are doing, and something that also adds to the skill level, right? Because the demand of changing world scenario is that you need to be connected to your roots, and at the same time you have to be also prepared for the competitiveness that is there in the world out there, right? So while we are being mindful, this should be something that we are balancing both this aspect. So through writing or creative stuff, for me creativity is one big tool of being mindful. It could be anything. Writing is one thing, and then because personally I have challenged myself into all these aspects. These were some you can say were blocks initially while I was growing up, but I challenged myself to move one step at a time. And this is what I even convey with people around me, whom I talk to and share my experiences with how I did it. And it might be a different journey for them, and they need to understand that if I did it in let's say 1 year time, they may take 6 months, or even they may take 1.5 year time, right? So it is their journey and they should be comfortable with it, because once they are comfortable with themselves, this is also an important point. Being mindful is being comfortable with oneself, right? Here it's about for me it was my power. I realized when I was comfortable with the condition I had, that is my rare condition, genetic disease, right? And I cannot do anything about it, but there are a few things I can do, is to stay happy, learn new skills, and keep working at things, right? And contribute towards the society. These are the things I can do. So the acceptance that, okay, this is something that I cannot control. Okay, leave it to the divine and keep working on yourself. Make yourself better, and how you can do it and how you can give back to the community, to the society, right? So that was my mindful process, what I have been doing. And these are some of the ways that have actually helped me. I'm a lot happier. My energy level, I believe, is a lot higher than many a times people with the same condition have. And at times what happens is when I talk about my condition, people think that, oh, why aren't you so dull? You don't look ill, or you don't look like you are suffering or something. Then that actually, again, as Jessica talked about, trigger points, right? These are some of the trigger points, that why should someone who has illness or disease condition should look dull and like that, or should be on the bed all the time. Oh, I cannot go and do anything about it, right? The person has the inner power, right? The willpower. That is also important, right? A person who is suffering can also smile better than most of the people around, right? And that smile itself has an energy, that carries an energy that can heal many people, right, who need it. So that's what I believe. And now actually I have almost tried to make myself immune to this type of things, because it is their belief system, not mine, right? So they need to change their belief system. I am doing a better work. I do not intend to hurt anyone. In fact, I am on my mission to build a better world out there, one step at a time, one person at a time. So I think my belief system is good. They need to change theirs. So that is also what is that, setting up the boundaries and clarity among the thought process, as every one of panelists here talked about, being clear in the mind, right? So that's the thing. Yes.
You're hurting me when you're not every time you don't show up in that hat and tie. I'm telling you.
And
You
that's
handsome
because-
devil.
It is
You need
winter.
to-
It is winter. It is winter here.
Yeah, well, hey, it's winter here too, but I got on this cool shirt. You need to show up in that tie and that hat because, man, you're killing me.
Done.
um,
Next time. Next
You
time.
handsome devil, you
on
better. I'll tell
next
you.
time on your demand. It's done.
That's one
think
thing I
it's
demand. That's
very-
it.
I think it's
Yes.
very interesting, Minaj, how you were talking about through that mindfulness practice to be able to recognize, the beliefs that help, like even being able to recognize in somebody else, like, okay, that belief is holding you back. That belief is not making you expand and grow and be as the wild human that you have the possibility to become, and
Yes.
harness that energy. And it's through mindfulness practicing that you can really, the more that you harness who you are and what you're capable of, the more that you can see in other people who they are and their limitations. And that we all have, if we surrender more and more to God, to the God energy, or whatever that looks like to everybody out there. It's not always the same thing, but that energy, whatever it is, the more that we hand it over and surrender and just stop the mind from being so busy all the time, the more expansive we just become, the more energy is able to come through, like the more we harness the more we let go of fear, because it's fear. It is fear that stops us from allowing us to receive the light and the energy that's available to us. It closes off our energy field and causes all kinds of holes to the outside world and all of that stuff. But that's all through mindfulness that we get to learn those things. So only through mindfulness, it's only becoming aware of what you're thinking, aware of what you're putting out, aware of what's coming in, and like recognizing that we're creating our world. We are. And, the more that we are able to understand the depth of that creation, the more that we're able to open and give more of that energy and that life force to others and the collective to create a better life experience for generations to come.
Mhm.
Yeah, we can't just wait around for it to happen. They sit around. They want to wait for it to happen. They want to wish for it to happen. They are looking for a miracle to happen. But miracles happen only with one way, with us actually doing it ourselves. I mean, a miracle. We can't just wait for a miracle. And some people say we need an act of God. Well, I am an act of God. We are all an act of God because we are created by God. So the only way we get this done is by doing it together. We can't just continue to. Unfortunately, I mean, we're witnessing it these days anyway. Everyone wants to come out as an individual. We need to Stop going into the individuality and start getting back into the group, trying to get this done. I don't like to say the word herd mentality, because when you use the word herd, then that's the against society allowing us to call us cattle or calling us the flock. I don't want to be referred to as sheep. I'm a human being. So, but yeah, we need to get back to knowing that the only way that we get ourselves out of this. I mean, unfortunately, over here in the United States, Manoj, our president said, we're all in this together. Well, before that, in 2020, we have always all been in this together, and we need to get back to that understanding that the only way that we get out of this is if we work together, and we need to push more on that instead of just, again, like I say, I know we have to do work on ourselves, but we can't just sit and work on ourselves without working on others as well. As a collective, we have to do this together. We have to let go of this whole, I have to be, binary, non-binary, all that crap is just crap is what it is. These young kids, but why are these kids doing it? Because we're allowing it to happen. We let this happen. We can't blame them. We can only blame ourselves because we are the teachers of them. So until we get back to, Michael Jackson said it a long time ago, we are the world. The world is just a place, but without us, the world is nothing. We make up what the world is doing. It is our decision to get it back on track. And I know, Jessica, you hate to use that word lazy, but unfortunately, that's where the world is at right now. We're being lazy. We have too many amenities in this world that are taking over, and they are taking our lives away from us. I mean, the internet. What is that one that they're trying to force on us now? They want everything to be not a real reality. The meta. They're trying to put that on us now. Where do we put our foot down and say enough is enough?
Yeah, so there's also that other school of thought that evolution is all about accepting the path that we're on and understanding that everything as a collective is moving and there's no mistakes. There's no, I love that we're having this conversation, and I really hope this conversation touches people and helps them to make change in their life. But the fact that this is the trajectory that we're on, and these particular things that we are being pushed towards may be the very thing that wakes up a large part of the population,
Yeah,
and helps them understand the deeper parts of themselves. So I get what you're saying and I understand, but at the same time, we also have to embrace that this is the path that we're on. This is where we're going. And this is what, this is part of the collective of what's needed for whatever reason that is.
And it's just like terms like lazy, I just want to put it's the shame that we put around words like that. That's really why for me it doesn't sit right, because at any point in time we can't say because you need time to yourself and to relax and whatever it is that you need is being lazy because we're perceiving it that way. And then calling you what you're doing lazy is only going to have people doubt themselves more and feel more ashamed and feel like they can't take time for themselves. And it's just really the words that we use for people and just describe where we are is important, because some of those have that shame attached to it. And we really don't want to be putting that out into the world while we're all trying to heal
working
ourselves.
on yourself and lazy at the same time doesn't go together. It just doesn't make sense. But we need to take that word lazy out of the equation.
Right.
That's a beautiful cat.
Thank you. She's getting antsy.
Happens.
So, did you want to add anything else, Manoj?
No, I think I have had that I have contributed. I think we have discussed or touched many things here. that we can in the given set of time we have. And there are a lot more other topics, I think, that can come up during what we have discussed here today, like triggers and all those things. We can have a separate discussion on those aspects. So let's have it some other time.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody here, for joining me in this conversation. Another beautiful conversation. And anybody out there watching, if you feel this conversation really resonated with you, there's going to be many more to come ahead. So please like and follow the page so that you'll get the notification the next time the panel is going live, and you can hop on and listen to our show. So thank you, everybody, and love and light to you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.
Be good.